Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast. My guest this week is Steve Ponton. Steve is a LinkedIn expert, is a LinkedIn super user. His knowledge on LinkedIn is absolutely fantastic. And the reason why I wanted to get him into the podcast was to really just to help a little bit with regards to profiles. He wants to explain more about why LinkedIn is your friend and why you should be using LinkedIn. There's the do's and don'ts in the podcast as well. But yeah, let's just get Steve onto the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Steve. How are you?
I'm great, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Good,
Good.
good, good. It's sort of a wet and miserable day outside, but we won't talk too much about the weather this early in the podcast. But I'm good. I'm very good, thank you.
And we're both different parts of the country, of course. I'm in Edinburgh, and you're.
Which is not too a little bit. Yeah, you're on the different coast, me being in the northwest, so I'm in sunny Cumbria. So yeah, it's not so sunny, shall we say? Yeah, we are. But I'm guessing people will get that we're on different parts of the country, given our accents. So you definitely can tell you've got quite a good strong accent there, Steve. Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would have had you down on the other side, to be honest, Craig. I thought you were on the sort of Durham northeast side rather than the west side. But there you go.
Yeah, I up until recently, I was on the. I'm a Yorkshireman through and through, so I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
sort of moved onto the other side of the Pennines now, just for various reasons. But yeah, I'm Yorkshire through and through. Moved in further, like say, to Teesside way, and then just recently moved over to the other side. And to be fair, I get when I was in Teesside, people used to say about my accent. Always thought I was from Manchester anyway. I always thought I was from the northwest. So being a Yorkshireman, that was quite a bit of a not a great start of a conversation, shall we say, insulting somebody like that you're on the wrong side of the Pennines. But I'll take it. I'll take it.
You'll
But
live with that.
Edinburgh's a beautiful part of the world and a beautiful city. So
One of my favourite places. Yeah, one of my favourite cities.
can understand that.
Hopefully.
So,
Yeah.
well, we're not here to talk about accents and backgrounds,
We're not.
and sort of
We're not.
like and locations and things like that. We're here to talk about LinkedIn and the title of why LinkedIn is your friend. So, but first of all, Steve, do you want to sort of go through a bit of introduction, a bit more about yourself and where you currently are in terms of yeah, your position and stuff like that?
Yeah, of course, Craig. Yeah. So, I'm an associate partner of a company called LinkedIn Success Systems. I've always been passionate about making effective use of LinkedIn, and I've been a member on the platform since April 2004. So the company was founded in May 2003, and I've been on the platform since. So within a year, and like most people, I joined because I wanted people to be aware of my expertise. I wanted people to know that if I was looking for a job, where to find me, type thing. But in the last probably 6 or 7 years, being a power user of LinkedIn for business development, and more recently in niching down on mortgage brokers, mortgage specialists, and estate agents, then that's been a great journey throughout the pandemic.
Definitely. And I think I'm trying to think of the day when you sort of talked then about that was LinkedIn very early, I'm guessing. I'm trying to think. I thought I was quite into it fairly early, but I think mine was about 2008, 7, 8, 9, something like that when I joined LinkedIn. You were very early in LinkedIn because when was that? When was LinkedIn created as a platform?
Yeah, well, 2003 it was founded, and it went live in May of that year. 2016, Microsoft bought the company, so that's
Right.
where we've started to see a lot of the different changes to how LinkedIn kind of operates. But personally, I think Microsoft having it is a good thing. I think it's and we'll lead on to that as to why LinkedIn's your friend. But Microlease have certainly got the ideas, the innovation, and the clout to take LinkedIn wherever it needs to go. So
I think it gives it standardization as well, doesn't it? With Microsoft owning it and taking it over, I think it sort of gave it quite sort of great sort of structure and platform to use really, and that's sort of seeing the benefit of how much it's grown
yeah,
over the
absolutely.
years. And you'll have seen the changes, being at the forefront early days. You'll have seen how LinkedIn's changed so much over the years.
Well, I recall. I think I got a sort of special badge from LinkedIn for being amongst the first 500,000 members. So if you compare that to where we are now, there's 800 members plus globally on LinkedIn.
Right.
31 million of those are in the UK. And that's grown from post-pandemic from about 675 million. So it's interesting. It's not happened too recently, but a couple of times before then, I've been asked by people to recommend a database. In the past you used to be able to buy databases. Well, I think you still can, but it makes my mind boggle that people want to buy something when they've got access to 800 million users globally who all update their information on a regular basis, which just seems bizarre. So it's definitely it's the biggest business database on the globe, and people need to start to use it that way.
No, definitely. I think I'm gobsmacked by the amount of views in the UK, 31 million.
Yeah.
Using that. That is phenomenal amount of. That must be one of the biggest in terms of ratio of users to population in terms of for countries across the globe, surely.
It's more than half the working population of the UK are on LinkedIn. So
Wow.
Oh.
So why LinkedIn? Why such a? Did you get involved with it at such an early stage in its sort of journey, Steve?
That's a fantastic question, Craig. So when I started my sales and business development career back in the early 90s, everything was analog. Everything was analog. You forget timelines on when things were invented and introduced and all that kind of stuff. So my working day was scheduling a whole load of calls using a landline, using my Rolodex of business cards and connections. I would then set up appointments for probably a couple of weeks later on. The day would come, I'd jump in my car, didn't have a mobile phone, had my demo kit or whatever it was I needed to present to the client, head off to the client. And those who were available, they got the demonstration and they got the chat about what we could do and how we could sell and all that kind of stuff. Those who were maybe called away because of business or didn't make it, I then had to ask at reception who else could I speak to in the organization, were they available? If that didn't work, I'd have to head back out, find a public telephone box, phone head office, ask around if there was anybody else. So you can see where this is going. Everything was analog, so you couldn't kind of reach out to people. Nowadays, we've got this whole wonderful digital process where we can nurture relationships to the point where people actually want to meet us. People don't, 90% of people don't respond to cold calls. I'm not saying for a second that cold calling is dead, because it's something that it was very much a practice that I was involved in for many years. But people do respond to building relationships and nurturing those relationships. So I got involved because I thought LinkedIn was just going to make my life as a sales guy and a business development manager just so much easier, because I could then be connected to these people. If things like a client didn't show for a meeting, I could then sort of say, oh well, who else have I got in the area, that sort of thing. So I think the transition from analog to digital was really the reason I got so passionate about using LinkedIn effectively.
Which is the picture in my mind of going back to the analog days of cold calling, and like you say, if you like the picture of you sort of turn up at a firm, having to ask reception on then, and then getting the nearest payphone and calling into it's just like you say, when you've been through that and experienced that, and that's what you had to do to transact your business, compared to then LinkedIn and what platform it is now,
Yeah,
it's like, wow, like what it's so much easier. The world is so much easier now than what it was when you were trying to, and that again, I know what it was like cold calling. I know, like I said, cold calling is not dead, and I know that still happens. But then when you sort of think about the trolling that you had to do to generate business and get data and information, and you think about now with LinkedIn that the information and data on there, about 31 million users in the UK, it's just phenomenal.
it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, and it's the whole digital process is now part of the buying experience. In the old days, when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was around, you had your brochure and you had your product and all that kind of stuff. Well, the statistics are something like between 57%, or people are 57% up to 90% through the buyer journey before they even want to speak to me these days. So they've qualified me on LinkedIn, they've looked at other social media, they've looked at my website. The whole digital process just makes life so much easier and takes the buyer journey through that process without us actually having to be face to face with these people. So, and that occurred to me at a really, really early stage. I thought this was the way that things were going to have to go.
So do you want to just explain a little bit more about the LinkedIn success systems? Is that too broad to talk about right now, going straight into that, or is that just something that you can explain a little bit more
No,
about,
it's
Steve?
actually very easy, Craig. So there's a guy called Miles Duncan, who's the founder of LinkedIn Success Systems, and I'd been to a presentation, a free orientation session that Miles had given in Edinburgh, and it just seemed the right thing. I was thinking for a while, how can I pass my knowledge on to people and allow them to make more use of LinkedIn like I do? And Miles had already developed a methodology that allowed people to take that process and ultimately quite quickly become or to use their LinkedIn profile to be a kind of magnet for business development. So it was easy for me to then hook up with Miles. So I'm an associate partner of LinkedIn Success Systems. Miles is the founder and CEO. And over the last 4 years, we've kind of continued to develop the methodology to align with what LinkedIn is doing and the kind of growth set that LinkedIn have gone through as well. But as I said earlier, it's been a desire of mine to recently niche down on mortgage specialists in particular, because I'd actually found myself training lots of these people, and estate agents to a lesser degree. So we've designed this methodology that's kind of 4 modules that kind of take you from identifying who your target audience is, which is really, really, really important, all the way through to having a kind of a workbook that you can kind of practice every single day on LinkedIn. So it's not, we don't just jump on a call and explain what we do on LinkedIn. We give people an online methodology to be able to say, this is the reason I'm on LinkedIn, this is the target audience that I want to attract, these are the things I'm going to do to make that happen, and this is my playbook, if you like, that I'm going to practice kind of every day. So that's the kind of the overall the all-encompassing role of LinkedIn Success Systems.
Right. Okay. And I'm always interested in niching. Now, it's something I talk about quite a bit from a mortgage broker point of view. When it's funny, I'm talking to an advisor just yesterday about niching, and they're looking at business protection and how the niching from that point of view. What was your sort of thought process? And I know you sort of said that you was working with quite a few people in the mortgage broker industry. Was that really why you wanted to niche, or was it something you always wanted to do with working there with mortgage brokers?
I think for a long time in my career, I've heard lots of people say you really need to niche. You can't be everything. So we chat about the extent of LinkedIn. There's 800 million people in there. There's absolutely no way that I can attract 800 million people. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
So at some point you kind of have to say, right, okay, who is my target audience? Who am I going to target, and is there enough of them? So my research at the beginning of COVID led me to understand more about the mortgage broker sector, much more about how that was kind of changing. There's lots of people now going self-employed, for example, from being employed as a mortgage broker, and that's where the importance came in, where their brand, the personal brand, aligned with any other businesses that are aligned to, became much more important. You had David Miles on in one of the previous podcasts, who's a Google Ads expert.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to know David previously from the Federation of Small Businesses, but he's
Right.
right. You've got to kind of understand who your target audience are, or all you're going to do is just float around all over the place, not really knowing. And from a mortgage broker's point of view, that's not that difficult on LinkedIn. There are tools within LinkedIn that can allow you to kind of target either people by their by the role, for example. So if you decide that you want to sell high-end mortgages, there's a good chance that it's going to be sold to CEOs or C-suite type people. So you can start to sort of target in on those. There is a methodology that you can use with the help of probably Sales Navigator more than just the free version, but you can niche in on first-time buyers, for example, based on their age group. So I think it's very important that you, and certainly something that I've learned and practiced in the last 20 months, is to really niche in on who you think your target audience are. Is that sector big enough, and what are you going to produce that's going to drive those people towards you as the expert advisor?
And is it like a sort of process with regards to the program you're working with the mortgage brokers that you work with and the estate agents and looking at doing what you do? Is it sort of like a program you stick to? Is it like a week by week kind of program? How does that sort of look? Is that sort of what's the end goal kind of thing?
What's quite unique about so we'll ask people. I did a presentation on Friday last week for one of the mortgage networks, and there was about 45 people in the room. So the first thing I asked them to do was to recall why they have a LinkedIn profile. So lots of them kind of looked up into the sky thinking, okay,
Because I'm told I've got to have one. I'm told I've got to have one. That's it.
And that's and LinkedIn statistics say that 95% of people on LinkedIn are not using it effectively. There's a 5% group of people of 800 million who are making regular contributions to posts, who are making educational videos. So that 5% are the ones that are kind of getting it right. But everybody in the room kind of looked up to the right and thought, yeah, why am I on LinkedIn? Well, it was because somebody said it's a good idea. It's a business platform. You probably get business there. And then you go into LinkedIn.com, and within 5 minutes, you've got a profile, albeit, it might have no photograph, it might have no banner, it might just have some kind of headline, or you may have dropped in a photograph of you at your granddaughter's christening, holding a pint of lager with a kid in your arms, all that kind of stuff. So we get people to really kind of step back from LinkedIn and say, right, why am I on the platform? Who are my target audience? Let's identify those by going through a process we call Clarify Your Brand for LinkedIn. Then we allow you to jump back onto LinkedIn. And then the next thing you have to do is to have an optimized profile. So the importance of the profile, I can't, overemphasize. There's no point in you're damaging your brand if you have, no banner, a photograph of you on the top of Everest with a flag in it, or drinking 10 pints down the pub or whatever. So we provide a 17-step process, Craig, for the optimal profile. And if you like, in your world, from a mortgage broker's point of view, if you've got a mortgage application and part of that application is not completed, then it'll be rejected. So in LinkedIn, if I can give you that as an analogy, if you don't complete all the 17 parts of your profile, then the likelihood is any viewers that jump onto your profile are going to say, I'm not sure if this is the guy, if this guy's the expert advisor that I want to deal with. So it's really important that you, first of all, clarify your brand. Once you've done that, you get on your profile and you optimize it so that when people arrive on your profile, they're engaged, they want to learn more, they want to learn about your background, they want to learn about who you've helped, essentially. And then that's where the nurturing and the trust starts to build from viewing your profile for the first time.
I think that's it, because when I looked at your profile, obviously to do the research for the show, like you've got when you look at you look at your profile compared to somebody else's, it looks like you are using all the tools that are on there. And there are a lot of tools, aren't there, on LinkedIn, a lot of things that people aren't aware of that they can use. And for you, when I look at yours and I can see you've got reviews on there, you've got clear about you, you've got, it's very clear. I've got a lot of clarity about what you do, how you do it, who your target audience is and things like that. So it's not like a drifting through kind of thing. I've been told I've got to do it. Like I can see the featured stuff. I was looking at the reviews you've had, and that was something that I was interested to look at because I'd not seen the review section on there before, and it's probably something we can talk about. And then also as well, it's sort of there was a button there about request a proposal as well, which is something I've not seen before. So I always look from looking at your profile and doing the research. I always then I thought I was okay on LinkedIn. I don't claim to be a super user. I thought I was okay, but when I started to look at your profile, I thought, wow, there is so many things I'm missing out on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so we in our training we talk about, we make an analogy of a gym. So LinkedIn have built this wonderful gym, and they throw all these pieces of equipment in there, and people jump on LinkedIn and think, right, I need to go around all of the equipment. I need to be on the rowing machine, and then I need to go on the free weights, and then I need to go down on the the neck extensions and all this kind of stuff. And then they walk off and they think, well, what results have I actually got from this? So we tend to say LinkedIn have all these wonderful things. You have to be very careful because they quite often introduce something and then withdraw it. You'll probably have seen that in the last 2 or 3 months. They've given you a feature and then said it doesn't work. We're going to take that away again. So we focus on probably 10 to 12 features of LinkedIn and do them very well. So it doesn't, regardless of how LinkedIn then changes, you've still got the fundamentals that are going to take you through. So your photograph's really important, your banner's really important. It's real estate that you could be using. Your headline, for example, is Google juice. If the keywords that you put in your headline are going to be found by SEO. The stuff that you put in your about section are going to be found by SEO. I don't think it's too early to reveal what I'd said in the preamble about there's one setting on your profile that's probably costing you business, and that's people also viewed. So if you look on your profile and you haven't switched that to no, and I think this is a throwback from when LinkedIn was really just a recruitment CV platform. If you've got people also viewed set to yes, in the real world, you've got probably less than 4 seconds to impress somebody that's jumped onto your profile. So if I jumped onto Craig's profile today, and immediately to the right hand side of your profile is another list of people who are mortgage brokers or mortgage advice or mortgage specialists, and they happen to be more attractive than you are, you've lost the audience. So I'm immediately going to look at that person, and there's a very good chance they're going to be a competitor. So if anybody listening to the podcast or viewing the social media stuff takes anything from this conversation, please switch your people also viewed to no, because you're just handing competitors the opportunity for the viewer to look at their profile, and they may be much more interesting than you. They may have a much better proposition than you. They may have a much better profile than you. So that's the little nugget for today.
No, to firstly, that is an absolute priceless nugget. And I was going to ask you about, because that's something you sort of said is like one setting you can change that might be costing business, and that is it. And I think every listener has been now scrolling through their LinkedIn profile and just checking that setting. And I'm itching in the back of my mind thinking, no, I need to focus on the podcast, Craig. You can look at that at the end of it. You can look at the end of that. So no, but I think that is one. I think that's the sort of thing, Steve. There seems to be so many hidden things within LinkedIn. It's just the same with everything. There's always, whatever you've got, like maybe a gadget or a platform, social media, whatever it is, there's always stuff you probably only use sort of 5% of its capability. And I think with LinkedIn, you're absolutely right. There is so many more self-employed mortgage brokers out there. There are more mortgage brokers than that are coming into the industry. They are looking to generate leads, generate clients, and wanting to build the profile, brand awareness, all those things, all those sorts of things. So it's good that you are niching in that, because because that's what I specialize in anyway. I see more mortgage brokers going to, but there is far more going self-employed from employed. So I think it's a bit of a, when you're first starting out as a self-employed mortgage broker, it's sort of like you're told, right, you need to get your LinkedIn profile sorted out. You need to get this done, these are all the sort of things. And you've experienced that, because we're part of Open Work Network. And I've been on sort of meetings and had sort of before the pandemic where we had Openwork sort of helped with regards to LinkedIn profiles, and we had a session, and it was the same thing of why, like, it wasn't the same thing in terms of what you're doing. It was the question at the beginning that was, you can sort of see these people thinking, well, I was told that it was a good idea to have a profile, but why? Why did you, well, what did it do for you? Like, what? Well, I was just told I had to have it was a good idea to have a profile. And then, like, the thoughts in my mind thinking, well, how much are you damaging by having a poor profile will be massive in terms of it. Like you say, the 10 pint, the pint in your hand with a baby, or if you've not got any banner, you've not got any clarity with your branding, and you can't see you and your personality and all those things, you're just damaging. And I love this. I love what you said. The Google juice. I've never heard of that before, and I really do like that.
Yeah.
Like, the Google juice is not looking good from your point of view, is it?
Well, it's an easy exercise. If you Google yourself and see what that brings up, 9 times out of 10, your LinkedIn profile will be somewhere in that list, on the top 20. But Craig, it's a confidence thing. People, if all you've done is, jumped on LinkedIn because somebody told you it was a good idea, my advice is jump off. Jump off now, before you damage your reputation. We have a sort of profile strength test, as we call it, but it's under the question: is your profile an asset or a liability? And I can send you a link. It's absolutely fine. And we take you through just a quick process. There's no selling. It's not for our benefit. It's for your benefit, just to check whether you should actually be using LinkedIn or not. And to be fair, 2 things, I guess. One is, if you're not using LinkedIn effectively, then don't give yourself the stress. Just put your profile on hold. Just blank it off. You can do that. But from a mortgage and protection advisor or specialist point of view, if you get one sale from LinkedIn, it's paid for itself. The return on investment is pretty straightforward. But you really have to. I can't emphasize it enough. You have to have an optimized profile. I've seen people join new companies who have changed their banner perhaps, or changed something on their profile, but forgotten to change their contact details. And their contact details is still their previous company website, company telephone number, etc. So a bit of due diligence, but it's certainly we've discovered throughout the pandemic. Confidence is building on LinkedIn, but you still need a bit of help to get to the point you need to be. And our methodology is based on thousands of people that we've trained and feedback that we've had from them. And there's often a light on moment. Lots of people don't know that LinkedIn's your friend, for the point of view that LinkedIn wants you to be successful on the platform, but in return they want you to put a little effort in at the beginning, at the very least, to then for the AI to start to work. So Microsoft have spent billions of dollars, millions of dollars, whichever, on developing artificial intelligence. So the algorithm wants to help you to be successful on LinkedIn. So if you've got a defined target audience and you're accessing the same type of people all the time, LinkedIn's going to push those people towards you. They're going to say, this is the type of people you need to be connecting with. Here you are. Here's we're delivering this to you. So it's your friend in that respect, but it needs a bit of, it's a two-way street. You've got to kind of say, well, okay, if you're going to give me all this stuff, I really need to sort of make an effort to make my profile decent on LinkedIn, and for people to want to engage with me, because it's all about the engagement. And again, that's where people are failing, because they jumped on LinkedIn. They may have gathered a massive network, but if those people are not aligned, then the algorithm gets confused and it just starts to send you random things, and it allows people from, software developers from Malaysia trying to connect with you, and all these people that you don't actually want. So LinkedIn's your friend. It wants you to be successful, but it needs to have something to work on, and that's an optimized profile.
Right. Okay. So in terms of the connections, then, if you've got you've got over 17, 18, nearly 19,000 followers and connections on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
If I'm thinking about the mortgage broker space and the mortgage broker world, should I be connected with mortgage industry people, or does it matter who I'm connected with, or what?
It's quite important. Again, it's back to clarifying your brand. So you will have end customers in mind. Okay, so you will have people that you want to provide your services to, but you'll also have intermediaries. You know, the financial world is full of intermediaries. So people will want to. So, for example, if you've got BDMs working for the main mortgage providers, you'll want them in your network because they'll be helping the algorithm. You'll want end clients in your network. Again, a question to the group of people that I presented to on Friday. Show of hands, how many of your clients are you connected to on LinkedIn? And there was the glazed look on the face, thinking, clients, why would I be connected to clients on LinkedIn? And then the penny kind of dropped, So you've got the idea with a mortgage broker or a protection specialist is that you want to be front of mind whenever that person needs your services. Now, if you've not connected with them on LinkedIn, you're missing an opportunity to be front of mind. So they're seeing stuff that's going to, in your feed, that's going to say, we've got this new product, or we've got this new service, or it's time to remortgage, or whatever. So, you want to be connected to your clients, you want to be connected to lots of intermediaries, and anybody that's going to kind of help the algorithm to push people towards you, essentially.
Okay, and is like local a good idea as well? Because I talk to a lot of brokers about local networks, community groups, and things like that on other social media platforms. Is that something that's important to connect with local people, local business owners on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. It tends to do, there is some geotagging goes on there, I believe, so that if you list your network, it'll kind of do it almost by region going out from where your location is.
Right.
Again, another area of LinkedIn that people are not confident in using are the filters. The filters are there to make your life easier. You can filter on people, you can filter on posts, you can filter on locations, you can filter on companies, you can filter on size, on company size. Sales Navigator is a whole, that's a podcast session in itself, Craig, that we could talk about. But that just takes you up to a completely new level in terms of targeting your audience. But on the free version, the filters are there to help again. It's all part of LinkedIn's willingness to kind of make you successful on the platform, whether it's from a recruitment point of view or whether it's from a networking point of view.
Right. Okay. So I think just to explain for those people that don't know, there's the free platform with LinkedIn, and because you've just referred to it a couple of times on there, and then there's also the paid part of LinkedIn as well. So I've never had it, and I'm going to use this opportunity, Steve, to put you on the spot a little bit, because I've been on the paid service, I've been on the unpaid service, and I've asked a question to a few sort of people about why should I be on the paid service, and nobody's ever sort of given me a definitive answer of why I should be on that. Is it worthwhile as a broker, as a business owner, wanting to generate leads and clients, being a part of the paid stuff?
It's essential.
Okay.
If you're going to use, if you've got a LinkedIn strategy, then Sales Navigator has to be part of that strategy. So it's going to cost you 70 quid a month, but your mindset then around LinkedIn and how you use Sales Navigator is going to be very much, how am I going to get a return on that 70 quid a month? So it's a fantastic tool, Craig. It's the Maserati, if you like, of LinkedIn. Used properly, it's a tool that will just allow you to spend 20 to 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, and then wake up to leads, essentially. So it's in our experience, it's worth every penny.
And I think, to be honest with you, Steve, I would love to get you back onto the podcast to talk about Sales Navigator, because I think that, like you say, I think for a return on investment, like what you're talking about, 70 quid, that's one lead. A mortgage broker will pay £70 for a mortgage lead. That could end up with wrong numbers, not answering, told to F off and what you're
Do
ringing me
what?
for, kind of
Yeah.
thing, all the things we've all experienced. So for one lead that could be a bad lead, cut back on that one lead a month that you're paying for out of your strategy, and think about the return on the investment from a LinkedIn point of view, which is going to be, I've gone on the podcast before about building your own brand, not somebody else's. So the reasons why I'm not a firm believer in buying leads, I'm a firm believer in building your own brand and using all the platforms and everything out there that you possibly can to build your brand, rather than building somebody else's who you are feeding and building when you're purchasing leads. So that's the big thing. So from a strategy point of view, clearly the £70 is a better investment to build your own brand.
Huge. But it still leads back to, please, if you're listening to the podcast, please don't immediately go out and sign up to Sales Navigator, because you need to give it some consideration in terms of, why am I on the platform? Is my profile up to scratch? If I'm going to target specific people, they're going to look at my profile and they're going to judge me on whether I'm the person that can help with their problems, with their mortgage and protection advice, and if you're the expert guy. So having Sales Navigator isn't going to solve all your problems. You still have to kind of go back to basics and make sure that you're represented in the right way, and the brand is up there doing all the right things. So, but 100% Sales Navigator is worth every single penny.
I don't think it goes back to what you were like when you talk about David Miles, who you know, and he talked about it, and a few people about the Google ads. It's the same thing. It's like, well, yeah, you can spend the money on the Google ads, but if your landing page is not very good, it's a waste of time. It's just the same principle, really, then, isn't it? From a LinkedIn point of view, and I never thought about it that way. That's you should get your profile right. That's getting the mess. I'm getting the message clear from you, Steve. It's all about getting your profile right first of all.
Absolutely, you can't prospect on LinkedIn with a weak profile that's got parts of it missing, because that doesn't build the trust. That just makes people think, why are they representing themselves in this way? Why are they good in one section but poor in the other section? So you're up there to be judged, Craig, and it's 24/7. Somebody might be sat at home on a Saturday night thinking, maybe I'll review my mortgage on Monday. Let's Google somebody, and they find your profile. So you've got to make the best impression you can when you're not there. You can't justify. You can't say, well, actually, I was having an off day today. My hair's sticking up, or whatever. You're going to be judged on what those people find on your profile. So it has to be the best effort you can have. And then when they do that, LinkedIn says, oh, this guy's attracting a lot of interest. Let's start to push people towards it. So that's kind of the way it works. And the last thing anybody needs to do is to spend any of their life thinking about whether they can hack the algorithm or not. The algorithm is not there to be hacked. And I see lots of LinkedIn experts talking about, well, if you do this, then the algorithm will get confused and it'll start to do that. In my experience, that's a waste of time. Let the algorithm do what's there to do. It's there to help you be successful on LinkedIn, but you have to feed it with some stuff to allow it to do that.
And I think that is getting that message clear, that
Clear.
you've got to be able to feed. Yeah, don't try and beat the algorithm. Just try and feed the stuff that keep feeding the stuff that you want to, that you've talked about, like the video kind of thing, the posting, to be having sort of consistency from that point of view. One thing that is in the back of my mind, and I think you might have talked about it a little bit there, is that because you can get a profile score on LinkedIn, can't you? There is something somewhere where you can actually get a score of some percentage or something like that of your profile. Am I right or wrong with that, Steve? Am I totally off?
You're 100% right. Yeah. So again, it's LinkedIn trying to help you to understand the time that you're spending on LinkedIn and whether you're doing it effectively or not. So it's called your social selling index, Craig. It's private to you. I can't see yours. You can't see mine. Nobody can access anybody else's, but they can see their own. It's based on 4 percentiles of 100%. So you're measured on 25% for each percentile, and it's engaging with the right insights, making the right relationships, two other fields that escape my mind for now, but if the listeners want to check their social selling index, it's www.linkedin.com/sales/SSI. So if they open a tab on their PC, pop that URL in, they will get their own private SSI score, and it'll tell you exactly where. It'll tell you where you are in your network. It'll tell you where you are in your sector. And what you want to be doing is to try and achieve to be in the top 1% of both your network and your sector. So it's a really good measurement for mortgage brokers who can then check, hey, I'm in the top 10 in my sector, and I'm looking to improve that. So some people poo-poo it. Some people think it's a waste of time. We use it in our training. You need to have a measure somewhere. You have to put a line in the sand to say, or baseline, where am I today? If I do all of these things, where am I going to be? So it's a measurement for you to look at that, but it's called your social selling index.
But no, I appreciate you clarifying that, Stephen. I think that the thing is, it's something you can measure, isn't it? So like that, it's like you can track your progress of how you're improving your score, how that's improving. I can hear all the listeners now sat on LinkedIn tapping away that the website, thinking, I need to know what's my score. Because I'm competitive. I want to know what my score is. Certainly my sector. Wow, how I can compare against other mortgage brokers in the mortgage world on LinkedIn. Yeah. And it is one of those hidden things. It's something that I do check on a sort of probably more an annually kind of thing. I probably need to be more aware of it and check on it on a more regular basis, because I think it's just something that comes around once a year in my head, thinking, I need to look at my score. I talk about it probably once a year with the team in terms of the mortgage advisors, and think, right, are you moving your score on with LinkedIn, and what you're doing to raise your profile and those sorts of things. So, but who doesn't love competitive people? Who doesn't love a measure? Who doesn't love a score to then compare themselves against?
And you've kind of hit the nail on the head, Craig. LinkedIn know all of these things. So they know that if you're in a group of people and you all want to compare your SSI, albeit you might want to keep it private, but just share the overall number. LinkedIn knows that. They know that people in groups will want to say, well, I've got an SSI of 82%, or well, mine's is only 80%. I need to work a bit more on some of these sections. So again, it's giving you a nudge along. It's saying, check this out, take a look, and if you concentrate on these two areas, your SSI score will increase. So yeah, I think the thing is that just related to that, I suppose, is that because LinkedIn was designed originally as a recruitment platform, people have still got a tendency, even now, to talk about themselves. It's all about, I am this, I am qualified to that, I can do this, I can do that. Your target audience, to be frank, doesn't really care. All they want to know is how you can help them to get the best mortgage deal, get the best protection deal, let them sleep at night because they know they've got these things in cover. So that's the kind of information that you've got to get across. And in our training, we use the Heinz baked beans analogy, where if your profile, you think you've kind of written it quite well, but it's all about you. We get the kind of, I know the listeners can't see this, but on video you can. So here's a tin of Heinz beans. That's the ingredients and all the nutritional facts and everything that's going on there. The rational mind of the viewer will look at that and think, okay, that's very interesting. Oh, actually, it's got that much cholesterol in it. If that's showing on your LinkedIn profile, that's just going to put people off. That's the brand that's going to get you the business. The baked beans at the front is the brand, the business. Yeah. So you'll see so many times on LinkedIn, somebody's got a nice photograph, they've got a great banner, but when they explain what they do, it's all about them. It's I am qualified to this level, and I have 25 years experience, and the reader doesn't want to know that. They just want to know, tell me who you've helped, tell me how you can help me. Are you the can you solve my problems, and are you somebody I can trust? And I think that's where people don't have the confidence to be able to promote their digital persona the way that they would their personal persona, and that's something that you need to really kind of work on LinkedIn.
And how does that? Because When you're looking at the sort of brand and trust is something you've sort of picked up on and sort of said a few times now on that. Because reviews are something that I've not seen before on LinkedIn. So once I started to look at your profile, reviews came up. I know the bits about recommendations, and you've got 19. I'm looking at it right now. You've got received 19 recommendations and given 56. Is recommendations and reviews part of your plan with your branding, Steve? I know you've got the program and things like that, but from what you do using LinkedIn, I can sort of see that you're trying to build trust from your reviews and from your recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely. And you put up a post, I think yesterday or the day before, Craig, where you were talking about referrals. Referrals are hugely, hugely important. And again, it's one of the pieces of the equipment in the gym that LinkedIn have given to you to be able to be successful. You know what I mean? So this is really the theme of the today's call, that LinkedIn is your friend. You need to kind of change your mindset in terms of what you're doing there. But there's a couple of things to do with the recommendations. It's very, very simple to ask for a recommendation on LinkedIn. I think the statistics in real life are 91% of clients say they would give a referral, but only 11% of salespeople ask for a referral, which is bizarre. But if you've worked with somebody, and it doesn't have to be somebody that you've trained, it doesn't have to be somebody that you've provided a service to necessarily, they will still recommend you as a great guy, somebody that knows his onions. They may never have bought a mortgage from you, but they know you personally, or they know you from your background or whatever. So you can ask anybody for a recommendation that's on LinkedIn simply by clicking a couple of buttons. If you ask for a referral, always personalize it. Don't use the default. Anything on LinkedIn, always personalize is our advice. Don't use the defaults. That's lazy. It's not personal enough. So asking for a referral, you click on the box, it opens it up, you put a personal message in there, you send it off to the person. If they're reluctant to do that, then that's fine. You know, they'll probably reply and say, well, actually, sorry, it's not the sort of thing I do. Giving referrals is kind of just as easy. And there's again, it's a bit of a trick, because if you look at the referrals that I've given to people, my profile shows up on theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's scrolling through their profile and I've given a recommendation, all of a sudden somebody's aware of me that perhaps wasn't aware of me before. So giving and receiving referrals is hugely important. Not enough people do it. It's a tool that LinkedIn have given you as a gift, you know, to make you successful. So my recommendation would be give and receive as many referrals as you possibly can.
Fantastic. I think that's I've got referrals and recommendations and things like that on there, but I've not used that tool in any way, shape, or form to its full potential. When I'm looking at yours right now, thinking, wow, and like you say, it's just when you before we sort of look to record the podcast, Steve, I think, and the one thing that the message that you wanted to get across was LinkedIn being your friend. I think, in honesty, even from my own personal point of view, I have changed my perception totally with regards to LinkedIn. So I can clearly see now from what you talked about on the podcast that LinkedIn is my friend, and it's things that I need to work on that friendship to make sure I'm maximizing the true potential out of that friendship. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a mindset thing, Craig. And to be fair to those who have not got optimized profiles, those are the guys who were told it's a good idea to be on LinkedIn. So why don't you join? It's free. You know, it takes 5 minutes to set up an account, but think before you kind of do it. Are you compromising your brand? Are you really promoting the fact that you're an expert in your field? Are you looking to become the go-to person that people will then contact? And I guess one of the big questions is, do you have the patience to nurture relationships without selling to people? You know, have you got the patience to say, we've only just met, maybe in 3 months' time you'll be interested in what I can do for you. or maybe in 6 months' time, you've got a need for my services, but it's not going to be instant. And again, that's one of the big failings on LinkedIn. You know, somebody connects with you and immediately you get the sales pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Which is the worst thing ever. And I don't know why people, you know, still kind of insist on doing that, but hey, it is what it is.
It's just an instant turn off straight away. So like you get that as soon as you've connected with somebody, you get that message popping up. It's like, right, okay, and that's
Here
just
we go.
automated, non-relationship building kind of situation to be in. So it is making me smile because it's all the things that I talk about, Steve, is what you're picking up on here, like about having the patience. It's not going to get an instant lead. You're not going to set your profile up and do various things, and then automatically you're going to get a lead coming through and a client straight away. It's about having that patience, along with all the other social media platforms, about building your brand awareness. It's about having patience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you believe the old saying, your network is your net worth, then LinkedIn is a perfect platform to build your network on, which ultimately should increase your net worth. And that's really what your target audience mortgage brokers are looking for. You know, they want to have a steady flow of people who need their services. But you know, not everybody wants to review their mortgage at the same time. Not everybody wants to take on a new mortgage at the same time. So it's got to be a steady flow of those people, and just making sure that you're front of mind using LinkedIn to first of all grow your network, because you hit on the fact earlier, I've got 18,700 followers. Now, because I've got Sales Navigator, I can section those connections at any time to target those people whenever I want to do that. You know what I mean? So people say you can never keep in touch with 18,700 people. Well, I know that. There's no way in hell I was going to try and do that. But when I need to, I can compartmentalize those people, or I can target those people in a particular way. Some on the free platform, but mostly on Sales Navigator. So my network I believe my network's my net worth. You know, if I could get £1 out of every person in my network a month, I'm not
happy days.
I assure you, I'm not doing that right now. But you know, hypothetically speaking, if I could get £1 out of every person in my network every month, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, I'm sure you would be. I bet you would be, Steve. Definitely, Steve. I would love to get you back on. I feel as though we've just scratched the surface with this. I don't think we've got it. Like we've gone on sort of like talked for over 50 minutes, and I just feel as though we have just really. There's so much more to explore with this, and I would love to get you back on. I know the listeners will be sat with their LinkedIn profiles right now, checking out the scores, checking like the settings, making sure. So we have only just scratched the surface with it, and I would love to get back on and explore LinkedIn even more. But if I'm a broker right now, say thinking, I'm building my trust with Steve. I like what Steve's saying. Clearly, Steve knows what he's talking about with LinkedIn. I'll get you tagged in on, obviously, with the podcast and the posts and stuff like that. But if I'm a broker thinking I want to be working with Steve, how do I find you? How do I connect with you? What's the starting point for me?
So my profile's optimized as far as I'm concerned. You'll find my mobile number there. You'll find my email address there. You can message me directly. You can send a connection request. I'll happily, answer any kind of questions through Messenger or through emails. But I think the key thing is for people then to, I guess the thing, Craig, is don't contact me if you don't think you need a LinkedIn strategy. If you think you're okay on LinkedIn, then that's fine. If you think you're not okay on LinkedIn, then please jump off and use some other platforms, because you're not doing yourself any good. But LinkedIn's kind of the only place you'll find me in terms of LinkedIn training, and just connect. I would love it if you sent a personalized message rather than the default. Don't just click connect. That would be nice, but that doesn't mean to say I'll reject you if you don't. It's just a question that I can then sort of get involved and say, well, everything on LinkedIn should be personalized if you really want to kind of grow that relationship. But you're absolutely right. I think it is daunting for lots of people to think, how do I make LinkedIn work for me? But a conversation or two makes it clear. It's not, LinkedIn wants to be your friend. They want you to be successful.
Great message to end on, Steve. And that's been the message throughout the whole recording and the whole podcast. So, Steve, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your super user knowledge on LinkedIn. So I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Been a pleasure, Craig. Thanks for inviting me on.
No problem, Steve. Thanks. And I know for a fact we will get you back onto the podcast and delve a little bit deeper into LinkedIn. So, but on this occasion, Steve, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot. Take care.